Once upon a time, my young friends, such was the passion for this deen. Such was the love for Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And such was the level of Iman the believers possess, that the believers were prepared to sacrifice all for Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They were prepared to sacrifice their wealth for Allah and His Rasul. They were prepared to sacrifice their health for Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They were prepared to sacrifice their dollars. They were prepared to sacrifice their time. They were prepared to sacrifice their lives for Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because they knew who Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam were. They realized the maqam, the status of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and to associate with Allah and His Rasul, they were prepared to sacrifice everything within their power for Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You had the likes of Bilal Habshi radiallahu ta'ala anhu, all the way from Ethiopia. They would whip him by day and they would whip him by night. Why? Because he uttered La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. There is no God worthy of worship but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam truly is the messenger of Allah. And for this, they would persecute him by day and by night. One would come and take the whip and would begin to whip. The whipper would become tired. Another would come and he would take the same whip. And he would continue to whip this individual. And Bilal Habashi would tolerate whatever was thrown at him. And he would endure this pain for the sake of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And when blood would gush from the body of Bilal Habashi radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the kuffar, then to add salt to the wounds, they would take Bilal Habashi radiallahu ta'ala anhu. They would drag him in the scorching heat of Arabia. My young friends, for those that have been there in summer months, you will know that temperatures exceed 50 degrees centigrade, so much so that even the mountains in Mecca have become black due to the intense heat. Stones can't tolerate the heat of Mecca, so much so that the mountains have become black. And they would drag this believer in the scorching heat of Arabia and force him to lie in the burning sun to burn. They would force him to lie in the burning sun to burn. And then they would take a large rock, stone, and they would place it on his chest. And as he's lying there burning, to add salt to the wounds, they would torment and they would say, لا تزال هكذا حتى تموت أو تكفر بمحمد وتعبد اللات والعزى. Oh Bilal, we will do this every single day. We will whip you by day and we will whip you by night. And then we will drag your body so that you lie here and burn. And we will keep on doing this till you do not leave the deen of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and return to the worship of the idols Lat and Uzza. And what would be the response of Bilal Habshi? Such was the level of Iman. Bilal had recognized who Allah was. He recognized the maqam of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He realized their value and their importance. And when they would torment him, torture him, he would utter Ahad, Ahad, there is only one God, and I will die with this belief. La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. There is no God worthy of worship. Allah, Muhammad is the messenger. You can strip my skin from my body. You can strip my flesh from my body. You can grind my bones. You can burn me alive. But I am not prepared to leave the deen of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If Allah were to give me life 1,000,000 times, Bilal would sacrifice every single life for Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These were believers once upon a time. There were people like you and me. They were no different. This was not a third race. This was not something different. These were from amongst the insan. These were from amongst the humankind.